Number one, Alabama, 22-point favorite against Vandy. The over-under I have is .5. Alabama, you're next references. Always got to bring it up. Always got to bring it up. I think that's Marler's single favorite soundbite in the history of college football, which says a lot about Marler, about how great that soundbite was. Just a general rule: never look into a camera and say
I don't
Alabama,
know.
you're
What
next.
about wear
Never
black?
do it.
I think that's Marler's favorite quote. It's gonna be a
Yeah, that's true.
funeral. Yeah.
That's more of, I guess we should say like a
Yeah.
post game quote that something that was actually meant for media consumption and not something that leaked and got out into the world. Yeah, that's probably a fair point. Shout out Scott Cochran. Great to see that. We talked about that with Marty Smith, the piece that he did on him. Hopefully he's doing well at this stage of his life. But yeah, the notion of like poking the bear, it died a painful death that day. It should have never existed in the first place because Bama was Bama. But still, we know how that played out. Bama scored more points, well, nearly as many points, 59, as Vandy had total yards of offense that day, 78. That is hard to do, folks. Very, very hard to do. I know that Vandy fans wish that they could have won at Mizzou, beat a top 10 team on the road. That'd be unbelievable for Clark Lee. We talk about like job-saving wins. That could have been one. But there's a greater than 0% chance that if Vandy had beat Mizzou a couple of weeks ago, Diego Pavia could have looked into the camera and said, Alabama, you're next.
Do you think Diego Pavia could be lifting the curse of that quote? Because this is the most hope I've felt Vanderbilt in a very long time.
Perhaps. Speaking of Pavia, after what Bama played, after the way that Bama looked against Georgia and how physical that game was, I know I've mentioned that before on this podcast, but I'll just say that I don't think it's going to be particularly fun to chase around Diego Pavia for 60 minutes. You know, treat it like hungover at a theme park. You know, like there are places that I would not want to be hungover at all whatsoever. Theme park is absolutely one of them. Maybe following a kid around a theme park, if you're one of those that's got your kid on a leash or something like that, that's kind of what it's going to be like maybe at moments of this game, chasing around Diego Pavia. Do not take that out of context, all right? I am not sitting here predicting that Diego Pavia is going to look into the camera and tell the world that nobody believed in Vandy after beating Bama. If that happens, we have gone full 2007, sound the alarms. This year is already off the rails. That will not happen. I do not believe.
You know what Diego Pavia reminds me of? That Vine where they're like, there's like the kid running around the birthday party, and the mom's like, "What do you have there?" And he's like, "A knife," and she's like, "No!" Like I feel like every play he's just like running around like trying to catch him. Anyway,
yeah, something like that. I think Corey Batoon, Mizzou defensive coordinator, would probably agree with that assessment. Definitely felt like that at times. Maybe it's going to feel like that on Saturday. It could. I think that there's a good possibility that he's going to extend some drives, perhaps force some Bama players into some hands on hips in the way that we saw against USF with Byron Brown. Like that was, what a weird game that is to already look back on. I mean, like they were a unique matchup from that standpoint. That's the best part. Yeah. And the fact that it's happened in consecutive years, yes, it is very unique. I think something like that could happen. But honestly, I think the spread sort of reflects that. You know, I thought this would be an easier sell if Vandy were only a 30-point dog. And I could have sold you on like a 42-17 Bama win and a Vandy cover. I really want to pick Vandy to cover because I think a lot of people are like, wait a minute, why isn't this line that big? Maybe Ryan Williams against the Vandy defense that's only allowed 3 passing plays of 30 yards might actually have him slowed down by day's end or something like that. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to pick Vandy to cover. I'm going to pick Vandy to cover plus 22. I'm going to go Bama to win 38-17. Not quite a Diego Pavia flex game, but Diego Pavia flex moments. How about that? Is that fair?
I absolutely love that. I'm literally just going to piggyback off that. I think that's like I think for Vandy, you know, at some point you got to really win games. The Mizzou loss, was as close to a win. And again, sometimes moral victories are real. Like that's about as close to a win as you can get. I think if you can show that you at least belong on the field with this Alabama team, that again is what we know about them is they were strong to start games. I think is a fair assessment of them. So like if you could like make it competitive and have your guy out there probably screaming at people and getting the boys fired up, and you can kind of look at your coach and go, okay, we got something here. This is not the Derek Mason just getting skull dragged by everyone type team. And so, yeah, unfortunately, I think your goal shouldn't necessarily be to win this game, but to compete. I think they at least compete. So I'm with you on that.
14-7, middle of the second quarter. People are like, hey, remember how we just praised Bama all week and made Bama number one team in the AP poll? And and he converts another first down. I'm just saying, I could see that possibility happening. I could also see 59-0 flashbacks to Alabama year next happening. That won't surprise me either.